Let's talk trail with the first ever finisher of the Zane Grey 50 mile. So I'd like to thank Scott Modzelewski. Is that how you say it?
Close enough.
Can you say it real quick?
Well, everybody says Modzelewski, but in Polish it's Modzelewski.
Modzelewski?
Yeah, my nickname was Mo, not Mojo, but out here Bob Kite tagged me with Mojo. Said he's going to put the Mojo on me.
So we got Mojo in the studio here today. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Now you just ran Zane Grey this past weekend.
Right.
So how did that go?
Even leading up to Zane Grey, when Joe reached out and asked if I wanted to run it, and I saw the email at night. I couldn't sleep after that. I laid in bed and I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm going to do Zane Grey," because
so you had like all the nervous jitters.
Yeah, I didn't know it. I mean, this is Zane Grey. It's not man against horse. It's not. It's a 3 hour longer 50 miler if you're having a hard time. 2 hours maybe if you're not, or more. So it's a bear. So I had to get mentally ready.
When's the last time you ran this race? Because you first ran it in 1990, which was the very first running.
Right. And then 2001, I looked it up. I went back and ran 11:03 with a brand new pair of Montrails I never ran, and they were at the race. I think they sponsored it. And so I think Ian was working for him at the time, and I got these clunker big Montrails for those rocks. And I was kind of glad I had them out there because you know how rocky it's gotten better, the trail. But yeah. And just put your head down and run. Dehydration big time in this one.
So you ran it in 1990, then 2001, and
Right.
then this year.
Yeah.
So you've only done it 3 times?
Only 3, and then
Wow.
for years they had the 50K because there was no 50 miler, maybe because of the fire. And so we go up and do that from the 260 trailhead in and back. And always cool seeing wild turkey and stuff like that. I think this year Steve Rogers and Justin Ludick both saw. Steve thought he saw horses, but I'm pretty sure he saw elk ran in front of him because I don't think there's wild horses out that way. But they almost got trampled on, actually.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I want to start with, like, when did you first start running ultras? Because you were big time in the scene in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then I think kind of went away for a while, didn't do a whole lot. And then last few years you've been back at it. I know you've run Crown King a few times. Man against horse.
Mm-hmm. I think I counted 7 maybe in the last few years here.
Yeah. But tell us about, like, how did you get into it back then? I know in this day and age we have the internet.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of knows about marathons and then stepping up to the trail scene. But how did you even find out about it?
At first I was working construction in Cleveland and my older brother was doing Western States. So I went from not knowing about anything into Western States. And he said, come pace me out there. And I was a total city construction worker guy, you know, at least 10 more pounds of Budweiser weighed on me and that kind of thing. And I kind of laughed at pacing you for 38 miles. And he didn't make it that year. And the next year is when it all started for me. I went out there and saw it. I was already running more. And once I saw Western States, it just, the bug bit me. I saw different shapes, sizes of people competing from all walks of life, and that's when it really kind of started.
Now, what year was that?
86.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
here.
You and your brother both ran the Angeles Crest 100 together. What year was that?
Probably 89, maybe, because I tried to get in Western States and couldn't get in, so I did other races. Yeah, that was a tough one. Back then he used Ultra Fuel for, remember those? Twin Labs put them out there, like 100 grams of carbohydrates. He would just down those, and there was some kind of purple mixture in ultra running somebody was putting out, and it really had the first, like, probably 4-in-1 mixture in there, so it had some protein and stuff like that. I would chug one of those at every aid. I don't even know what we brought with us between. I'm trying to remember. You know, there was triathletes had these little thing called squeezies or something. That's how I learned about gels. I even called Power Bar and asked them to make a gel instead of these bars that were so hard, you know. And yeah, so that was the start of it. Moved to Arizona and met a few people on the trail. Tess Porter, a Canadian runner, she was real instrumental in my training together, and we'd go do these epic runs in South Mountain and make up stuff like that. Totally dehydrated at the end, beg water from people over the wall. They'd look at us like we were crazy. But it did a lot of that, make up different areas and go run and stuff.
So you're just literally like, I guess the ultra running community back then was just out on the trails. You see another kind of crazy person out there running, and you're like, hey, let's get to know each other. Yeah.
Right, with Crown King, with that history, it was just starting. And Arizona Road Racers, back then it would be the Runner's Den was kind of the hub for it. And so they were putting on the races, and you meet people. Bruce Wise was training, and I told him I want to do Western States, and he said that's half of it, the want to do it, and just getting to that starting line. And I needed a change in my life at the time. I came from Cleveland, living that kind of lifestyle, and I wanted a change, and I surely did. I went from being a construction worker to a massage therapist and a model, and running ultras at the same time. So I totally, instead of the nightlife, I was going to bed early and getting up and getting in the mountains.
Well, Arizona's a great place for that too. I mean, we've got so much access, even in the Phoenix area, to trails and mountains. Yeah,
I met a lady, Kay Alderton. She was instrumental in getting my family into running, because my brother always ran, but more ultra stuff. She ran one way across the Grand Canyon, and my dad read about it, and he told my older brother, so my older brother did it. And that kind of started him on the quest. And he trained with Doug Latimer and all those guys up there in Northern Cal. So I kind of got tied into the names and all that. And when we came down here, moved here and everything, just Ed Zarambo was one guy that I saw that did Crown King, and I read about him doing Western States, and I was at Western States, so I felt immediately like I gotta call this guy, because there's not too many of us. And it turned out where I moved to Fountain Hills because of Ed, and he introduced me to a world of trails out there that he probably still has more footprints than any of us out there on those McDowell Mountains.
Wow.
But I've got to be catching up by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think, or what have you seen as like the change in the ultra running scene or community? Do you feel like it's a lot different from back in the day, or just maybe there's more people now, but still seems pretty close knit?
Yeah, it really does, and you guys have done a great job at that. Recognizing the people that come before, and that's important for the sport. The sport was always about helping each other get through this crazy great distance. And I think first time I raced with Paul Bonnet, we were doing that run across from Mount Ord there, Mazatzel 18.
The Modzelewski.
Modzelewski, that he ended up taking over. But he was out ahead because he's such a hill runner. And I don't know what problem he was having. And I stopped to help him. And he said that made him think about ultra running instead of doing the triathlons and that. So you don't want to see somebody else out there. Yeah, you want to beat him. We kind of got competitive, all of us, because there's only so much of, so many people doing it. So we really joke with each other about, beat you at Crown King or whatever. I was never that good at the shorter ones. The longer ones, I would be able to keep going and get into that ultra shuffle, and as long as the nutrition was going right. But it was a lot of fun back then.
Yeah. We have actually some old copies of Ultra Running magazine here.
Yeah.
This one is from July, August 1990. I found this, and this actually has the race report and results from that very first Zane. I wanted to touch on that real quick. So we got Zane Grey Highline Trail 50 miler, Pine, Arizona, 50.2 miles, May 5th, 1990. We have 17 starters, 6 finishers.
So, yeah.
And they report your time as 12:55 as being the first one. I was reading this article, and they say that, they talk about the beauty of the trail and the toughness of it, and that back then, even today, most people takes 3 to 4 days to backpack the whole thing, and, there's this crazy set of runners that are going to attempt to do it in one day. So very likely you guys are probably the first people to ever cross it in a day.
Yeah, maybe so. I used to hear about this one guy, John. He would make up these runs and do these epic long things, and he intrigued me about doing things like this. Maybe we were. It was so raw. There was no watches to tell you. Even now I'm asking, hey, you got one of those watches to tell you how far we are? And, I'm thinking, man, I ought to get one of those, because I never trained with a heart rate monitor or any of that. So, you go to this race, and there's just a rawness about it. It's you, nature, and I even getting lost a little bit right before Sea Canyon this year. Listening for runners, I go, geez, I remember this area before, like years ago. It was like haunting me. And luckily I saw Jeremy go by and just fell right in behind him there for a while. it's always epic. It's like it's a movie running one of these things in your mind. You see the flashlights of runners, you see the images and the beauty of the scenery and the runners ahead of you. And I enjoyed the whole day, and even a little bit of the suffering part of it that comes with it. But even all the tree branches that can nail you. I fell twice in front of the same set of people. This one gal heard me swear a couple times. I mean, I went down fast. I caught myself on the rocks, and then I fell on pine needles the next time. But back then, it was just go. I wouldn't even pay attention as much as I should at trail markers, because when you're out front, you're all jittery and that. You want to keep going and keep the lead and that. I mean, I did get lost. A lot of people used to bust my chops about that quite a bit.
Did you ever think that you would be like running Zane Grey in 2016?
I kind of thought, I hoped that I'd have longevity. Like Saban Snow was probably 20 years older than me, and I ran a lot with him at the beginning, and I go, man, I want to be doing it when I'm his age. Dwayne Batt was another guy I trained with quite a bit, and he was fast at an older age. And it was really special doing it. They made it special for me. Joe really did, and the old guard out there, Bev and Linda and Paul, people were at aid stations. And I was kind of in a daze at those aid stations. I was really focused, just looking around. I should have thanked people more and everything else. But I think leaving 33, I had to walk for 10, 15 minutes. And then it started coming, the nutrition started getting to me a little bit. I screwed up on my nutrition this year, too. Mm-hmm. I took in too much product again, and I just drank water the last 12 miles. I was even hitting my kidneys a little.
Yeah.
I wore a pack, too. It could have been rubbing in there. And then you stop dead in that trail battling the cramps. And you see other runners throwing up and having a hard time too. It's part of the journey.
Yeah. I want to make mention of another issue we have here. This one is from July, August 1993. And you actually are on the front cover here, it looks like with your son.
Yeah, my son.
You want to tell us about this one? This is from winning the Sedona Pinewood 50 mile. And from my understanding, it was a race put on by Norm Klein, who was the longtime race director of Western States, and it was just a one-time event. So, I mean, where did that race start? Where did it go? Like, we don't currently have any races in Sedona. What was that like?
Yeah, I used to train on Schnebley Hill there and say, wow, somebody should put on a race here. This is God's country. Every time coming down that hill, looking out at Sedona. And I'd do these, like I said, these training runs alone up there. My wife would stay with my son, was only born at the time. And Norm put on a race there and in Monument Valley. After I said the same thing, I had a modeling job in Monument Valley, boom, he put on a race there. This race started at the bottom of the Schnebley Hill there and went all the way up through I-17 to, I think, Lake Mary, maybe, or I don't think it was Mormon Lake, up to Lake Mary, then back through the forest and all the way back down. And I used to train on it, and I think I was telling somebody the other day I ran my fastest 10K in the middle of that race, running with all these other ultra runners. I go, I am flying, and everything was working.
Well, your time was in like 6.5 hours, I think.
Yeah, and I think 7 after that was the closest. A Man Against Horse maybe in Monument Valley was an early 7-hour time. And I ran really hard, and I look back, Dow Mattingly was chasing me, and Dow was always like a top 10 finisher at Western States. I even saw his name in this race, Zane Grey, in 8 hours something. I mean, that's how good this guy was back then. And I look back on one of those switchbacks, and I see him, and I stopped dead in my tracks. It's like 49 miles, like one more mile, and I dug deep because my father was working one of the aid stations, and I finished. And I told my son, I go, turn around and run. And he had those bib overalls on. And out of all the covers I've been on, Runner's World covers, 3 of them, all the other stuff I've been on, this is my favorite picture and my favorite things that I've done. And broke the tape at a good time, like you said. And I remember getting sick after that because I ran so hard, the effort. And it's important to take care of yourself after these things as well, and beforehand if you can. So I see a lot of people running a lot of ultras now. Be like I did back then, and I didn't necessarily do all the things that I should have done, maybe to help myself out. I just went out and ran them. Never had a coach or anything like that. Yeah. Which I think is kind of important now that I look at it. I followed the old formula of running like 38 miles on a Saturday and 15 or 20 on a Sunday, and then doing some stuff during the week. And that was kind of the formula I read in ultra running that kind of worked out because you had to get used to running on tired legs, kind of thing. And that's the thing about ultras. You can go on dead legs or sore legs as long as they don't turn into cramps or anything like that. And you can push quite a
I
lot.
found out that's true too. You kind of like the ultra legs. They have like this memory. They just keep turning over. No matter how tired you are, you just kind of keep going after you've kind of trained so many miles over the years. They just go.
Yeah, the muscle memory. I was watching other people that would pass me and just looking at their legs and watching their feet where they'd hit. Because sometimes on those trails you get too close to somebody, and I mean you got to watch all the way around there. It's a lot of trails are like that in Arizona, pretty rocky. Good training here. It's great training for any Mount Ord. You can do doubles on Mount Ord and be ready for Western States or anything.
Yeah. We have some questions from our viewers. All right, we had some people on our Aravaipa Group Trail Run Facebook page submit some questions for Scott, so we'll get to those. So Gladys Rionda asks, I'd like to know how his nutrition before and during the race evolved over the years. You touched a little bit on that.
Yes, when I first started, I was working construction, and Z Medical Products had these electrolyte tabs on the construction jobs. So I go, hey, I was reading them. I go, this is what I need. So I ordered a box from them, and they dropped them off at the house. And I would drink kind of like Exceed or Succeed, or one of them had a Nutrimini type drink in a can that was thicker, kind of like Ensure is now. So I would drink those, use those tabs when they weren't really out there at aid stations and stuff like that. And I remember saying, wow, they really helped me get through there and the cramps and that kind of stuff. I'm still trying to figure it out with products and stuff like that. All the new products that are out there. It's kind of a balance to figure it all out. I think everybody's individually different on that. But yeah, I'm trying to evolve with the products that are evolving. I think I might try to go back to maybe more of a whole food type source. I'm not sure how or what. If I continue to keep my knee has to let me to do all this, so if it's been doing okay, so I'm doing what it gives me.
Yeah. Let's see, we've got...
But I'd try to go back to Ensure or something else. I'm trying to think of something a little thicker at aid station than these packets all the time. Something with a little more substance. And I'm sure it's out there.
Do you eat any real foods like Zane Grey this week? Do you eat like a banana ever?
I thought I was going to, and I took in too many gels. And I think I tried one of these products that I thought it was a gel, but it had fruit juice and things in there. At that race, you got to pack a lot of water too, so you can get behind. It's a tricky one. But I'm still trying to work all that out.
Yeah. So Chris Warden asks, how much has the trail itself changed since your inaugural victory? Is it easier, harder?
Yes. First Carson Solheim, and then Justin Ludick, and everybody else that's gone up there and cut down things. The trail was gnarly. I think I'm sure they rerouted it from what I hear. I remember going down some real rocky chutes that even this now you do, but to pick your way through all that. But yeah, it was the first year I did it. There were so many down logs, and there was hardly any trail markers, so that made it even wilder. When I think about what I did, and no phone, I'd go out and do these training runs. Nobody knew where I was at all, But it made me feel so alive, like all you guys know that do it. I don't have to explain what we get out of this. You have to explain it to other people plenty of times. I remember back then I just tell people I just like to leave my comfort zone and I love nature, but nobody got it back then.
I think this day and age we're so connected that I think this is kind of a great way to escape. But even then, I'm sure it felt that way too, like getting away from everything.
Yeah, there's something about it, as just moving your body along nature like that. And I see some of the films you take, and I'm right there with you doing it. That's what's cool about it. I'm like feeling those feelings come right up in me and that's what kind of gels all of us ultra runners, doing something out there that we all like to do and supporting each other. And yeah, you have fast guys now. We always wondered what would happen if it evolved to what it is now. And look at the athletes. I was able to win them because I was the only guy showing up with a 3-hour marathon time.
Now you got a sub 4 Crown King this year.
Yeah, that just amazes me. I cannot believe somebody ran that fast up those hills, but we wondered, once the word got out and everything.
And so the first year you ran Zane in 1990, that was before the Dude Fire,
Yeah.
which kind of decimated the middle part of the Zane
Right.
course. Do you remember like some of those forests you ran
Yeah,
through?
just beautiful.
Brief, yeah.
Yeah, and then I remember doing it the next time, and there's some eerie type sections up there. One year it was kind of like it was burnt out and misty, and yeah, definitely trail change for the better. And thank you for all the volunteers that go up there and just labor on it.
Yeah.
Just, I thought of that. I go, I could tell, this was all worked on through here because it wasn't back then. And I remember my wife waited for me. I used to be able to finish them in around 8 hours, these 50s, and she waited, and I turned purple. I had no shirt on, 2 water jugs that were empty. But yeah, and after that one, she was like, a little leery. I had to drive all the way back. I was in bad shape. There was no hotel rooms, and I got pulled over. And the cop, I had like a Mannequin shirt on, and I told her my son's sitting there sucking his thumb in his car seat. And I go, I can't get another ticket. I just did this. She goes, just get out of here. Let me go. That was kind of cool.
All right, Stormy Washer asks, as silly as this sounds, but has your choice of shoe brand changed over the years?
Yeah, it changed with the shoes, I guess. You try what works for you, and you think there was only so many options back then. I got hooked on Montrail there for a while. They had a shoe called the Hard Rock. Before I think Columbia Sports bought it and changed the shoe around like they always do. It was a solid shoe for me. It was heavy. I don't mind heavy shoes because I didn't care. I just wanted to have that protection on my feet. Like I said it a lot of times this year at Zane, my feet hurt. Those rocks. And
what'd you run in this year?
This year, these Pearl Izumi, I think they're D3 trails. They're a little thicker than the other ones they had, and they were pretty darn good. There's just a lot of rocks up there.
Yeah.
I did. I started running them in regular road shoes, and I still think you can in a lot of these. A good road shoe that gives you what you need if you need structure or whatever. But I think I evolved with the shoes. And you're kind of a slave to the shoe because if you go buy one and you can't really, some planes you can't return it so much, so you get hooked on one and there might be a better one, but you don't have the luxury of buying a bunch of different kind,
Right.
It's like I try to hide the shoe boxes after a while when I come home because I probably spend $1,500 a year on shoes for sure, just on the shoes. Who said running was cheap?
Right. Let's see. James Bisbee asks, a possible question for Scott. After 26 plus years of doing ultras, what would be your best advice to someone just getting into ultra racing?
He says racing. Maybe it's fast. I mean, I was trying to race some of them. I know I raced Western States a couple times, see what I can do. But just getting into ultra running, I would think it's really important to make sure you balance out your hip muscles because running. Trail running is a little different. You're side to side. I think it takes a couple years to get good at trail running, just for all those intricate muscles to
kind of strengthen up.
Yeah, all those ankle tendons, deflections, inversion, eversion, and that. And I've seen it in runners after they get going. 2 years later, they're and they get really good. But I would say a good physical therapist or a good personal trainer just to set you right on keeping those hips strong, that side to side movement, and that kind of just some strength resist. I'm doing bands around my ankles. I hold on to those ski poses and I do them inner outer and front and back, even lifting up. And that's really helped me lately because I have a bad knee. You asked why I didn't run for that many years because of my knee mostly. And it was like getting a divorce from when I had to stop all. I even had to cut the magazine out because
you stopped subscribing.
It was so hard because my heart was just I wanted to be out there. That was my deal, And either way, I was out there 40 miles a week all these years, anyways. But to be on the trail and doing something of magnitude like that, really, transcending your ordinary self is the way I describe it because that's what you do out there. You don't think you can, I go, come on, you're running this thing, it's just, you got to get yourself there. And once you're in the mode, then you can go to them, you can keep doing it kind of thing. But if you don't do them for a while, you doubt. And I want to tell people, just get yourself to the starting line. Do your training. I mean, I ran Crown King 3 weeks before. Yes, I did a lot of walking and stuff like that to finish this. But anything happens on race day. But if you do your training, and that sort of thing. You can do more than you think. You can go 2 to 3 times your longest distance, really, if you had to, with the right nutrition and that.
Yeah. And James kind of follows up, if you would have known then what you know now, like, would you have done things differently?
Yeah, I might not have run so many ultras at the beginning because the bug does bite you. I tell people with young families to make sure you're balancing that out. Relationships, if your partner's not totally into it. I mean, running is one thing, but those things are more important in life. And if you can balance all those things out, because it really does take you. I mean, it took me. I needed it in my life. I needed a better direction than the way I was going. So, in essence, ultra running was great therapy for me and good focus for me as a person. But back again, I would balance my hips out and do different core exercises that I didn't do back then. I think I did do, things at the gym and stuff like that, but there's better stuff out there, better movement exercise, and run on those hills, man. You want those legs. Your body transforms after a few years, doesn't it? Your legs change, everything. You feel like this. You are a machine. You feel like you can go 50 miles at any given time.
But we're not invincible.
No, we're not. Because you see all these top runners having a hard. I mean, any given day, anything can happen, and that sort of thing.
Well, there's a lot of this like overtraining syndrome that we're seeing pop up. You see these really competitive ultra runners, now in this day and age, you win a couple big races and you become a pro. I mean, people are getting sponsorships and then you see them do well for maybe another year, and then they just disappear from the scene. I think the balance is important too.
Yeah, I read about those guys too. That really puts a number on your body, and I just felt so bad for these champion runners that could hardly go out and run. Oh, my heart sunk.
Well, and it seems like and at some point they just want to get out there and run again and enjoy it. I mean, Kyle Skaggs, on top of his game, setting the Hard Rock course record, and within a few months, he's hasn't run again, really. Just because of health issues, and that's sad to see.
It is. You can get by on less than you think, especially because these things are a strange game. If you're rested, and it all depends. It's you got to get there and do it and see and find out. You can talk about it or guess about it, and wow. Yeah, look at the runners we got now, though. But if everybody would, I don't wish that on anybody, any kind of that overtraining syndrome.
TJ Cuddy asks, he's a pretty built dude. How does he balance running with other types of fitness?
I think I had lifted so much weights when I was a kid because I was the youngest of all my cousins. My family came from pro football that I so they made fun of me, and I stayed in the weight room, and that kind of carries over. But I've taken a lot of protein. I even took in protein goos out there and stuff because I think we eat our muscles after a while if we're not careful. Yeah, that's it. I'm on my nutrition like I am my own body. I am a trained massage therapist, so I have plenty of tools at home. The Theracane, all those things. So all of it's important. Your diet and taking care of your body. Those IT bands running these hills, if you don't get those loose, you're going to end up with knee problems, and sometimes the foam roller can't do it. You have to get a harder. I just recently been getting A-stem. You ever hear that?
Yeah, I've gotten that done before for an IT band.
Right, I'm getting full body treatments for like 40 minutes long, and I tell you what,
that's painful.
It is, but I was laying there going, I think I'm kind of numb in some of these areas. Like my outer quad, I had an entrapment, but after that, I'm able to move free. I was getting up and walking. Man, I haven't moved this free. Bending over and picking something up I saw you squat down like that. I see how how loose you are. The older you get, if you don't do this kind of stuff, all these races, they accumulate on your body.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is having self-massage is a big thing, because who wants to go pay for it? There's tools like the Theracane, the foam rollers. I have all sorts of thumpers that I use, stuff like that.
So what's, out of all the years you've been running, what's the craziest thing you've seen at an ultra or out on the trails?
What first come to mind was Western States. This guy was bent down and he was injecting himself, and he was diabetic.
Oh.
And I was like, whoa, what's he doing? And he's, I'm diabetic. And I go, wow, this guy's got to battle that out here, let alone everything else on the trail. Probably go to animals, like seeing bear and stuff like that out running and that. But I don't know, during a race, I'm not really sure. I thought some of your races, actually, some of the javelina ones, just wild and crazy out there. You see things you never thought I'd see in an ultra, and it makes it fun, because,
Wild horses.
yeah, the wild horses are cool out there. But I think stuff like that, I remember images of people having hard times and having to leave them out there in the woods because they were, go, I'm okay. And looking back when the lightning flashes and seeing them down, still on their all fours and stuff. But I'm sure there's probably something that'll come to mind when I go. But yeah, it's just, I love the trails. I like running, what it does for you, what it does for your mind, and trying to keep it a positive, not turning into a negative, and running for family and everything else is my best advice. And giving back, I'm working some of your races now and enjoying working on people as massaging and stuff like that, and must have filled water jugs for 12 hours at that first javelina, and my hands hurt just from undoing the things. And I get too hyped up in these. I was too hyped up in the aid stations. I think some of the top runners were like, settle down, you're making me nervous, And that's the way it is when I get on that trail. If there's some, you probably get it. It's something about finishing that and that hyper focus that it takes. I mean, you do some of the hardest runs in the country. You have to be just nothing else but focused, huh? I don't know any other word for that. And
you kind of get in the zone. I don't know. When I'm out racing, I almost become a different person. Like, you just get in the moment.
Yeah.
And kind of like you feel running through the woods, you kind of feel like a wild animal, kind of. And
yes.
Get back to your instincts and just being raw out there.
That reminds me, I always think of the people that came before me. I used to read these westerns, a lot of the Louis L'Amour Western, he writes about these places where we run, And so I just think about the people that came before, the natives, some of the settlers, and even in Zane Grey, I was going, can you imagine pushing a cannon up these hills, and you got a battle in here against somebody else. So ultra running's not new. The magazine covered that years ago, and that was of great interest to me. People ran long distances a long time ago.
Yeah.
In Madison Square Garden.
Well, sometimes by necessity, or sometimes even for entertainment.
Wacky, like in the early 1900s, they ran around 6-day races.
The sport, it was like the most popular spectator sport in America. People were betting on people running for 6 days in a circle in an arena.
In the early 1900s, that's what you got to say. And people like Daniel Boone ran 120 miles barefoot to escape the Indians in 3 days to get back to. So these things are documented. People that covered these distances before us with who knows what they ate beside what the land gave them, and drank out of streams and stuff. It takes you out of this everyday thing and transforms you into something else. And that's why I think Tough Mudder and a lot of these kind of events are doing so well on the weekends, because people want to challenge themselves.
You get people stuck in the office all week, and they need an escape. And I think some people don't know how to find that. They don't know that they can just go out into the woods and hike around and run around and get dirty. Yeah. So they kind of need someone to give them that experience.
And you guys have been great at that, taking people that thought they could never do it. That's why I like having those early starts where people can get out there and cover those distances, because I saw a guy break down and cry at Crown King, and I'm vulnerable to that too sometimes when I finish with it. I know his emotions where he just did this epic thing that he probably thought he never could do, and I got such joy of that, you know. And just helping people. They used to say ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and that's pretty much kind of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone could do this.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think that it probably, maybe not anyone, but
I don't know. I mean,
I know what you're saying there, though.
I think most people are capable of covering a 50K distance, or at least getting to the point where they can.
And they know they're going to be welcomed and belong in our little community no matter what. Yeah. And that's awesome. Where do you get that anywhere else? The sense of that. And, I don't know so many people now. I didn't do them because of my knee for those years, so I fell out of the loop in that. But it still feels the same to me. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. So what is your next event?
You guys shut down for the summer, except these night runs and things that you do. But I'll probably go do something in the Grand Canyon. Yeah. My father used to take us there every year for so many years, and I'll spread his ashes probably down there this year, and Probably go back up in that rim country. There's some trails up there I haven't seen on the Arizona Trail and stuff like that. And to be in the forest is awesome, right up the hill like that.
Yeah.
And then see what comes up next year again.
Maybe Mogi on Monster.
Well, I thought of that. I was like, I mean, if I had everything still, that would take a lot, you know. The knee is a funny thing for me. The knee lining blows out into a cyst when I run these, so it's pretty full right now, like size of a small lemon. And it's actually your knee lining. It's not a cyst. It's just blown out.
It's inflamed.
Yeah, and I don't know what they can do for that. If what they do, it's been so many years now, so maybe they can help me out. I thought about that, but I'm trying to just do what it gives me, you know, and that sort of thing, and just get off on what you guys are doing.
Yeah, well, it's inspiring to see you out there still. I love it. I mean, I ran Crown King this year, and we shared a couple minutes on the trail, and that was really, really cool.
Yeah, this year I came up on, Ian was at the very end of Zane Grey, Ian Torrance, who's one of my idols because he was so fast doing these things. He started a little later than me, but he's a coach. He tells you how to do things and everything, and he's great. He's going, "Did you see those pigs?" So we shared this moment looking at these pigs, you know, and he goes, "Go." I go, "I'm not going to pass you the last 10 yards at Zane Grey." I go, "Please."
Well, he just finished his 13th,
I know.
Which is the most out of anyone, which is amazing.
Right, and that moment there, I love that moment. I was like, oh, "No way," you know, you go first, and yeah, that was kind of cool.
Just shows some of the camaraderie.
Yeah, and I wish I knew more of the names of some of the guys now. I'm learning them, but because there's so much extraordinary athletes out there, it just amazes me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Those are our questions, and if you guys have questions for us for future episodes, be sure to reach out. Use the hashtag AskTrail. We have a new segment we're going to be incorporating into the end of every show from now on, and this is called Trail Fail. There's also a website for this, so go to www.trailfail.com. You can see, what would you call it?
Bad falls, bumps, bruises on the trail.
Bad falls, bumps, bruises on the trail. So we are going to look at one of these trail fails and we'll just react to it, I guess.
Oh, yeah?
So we'll both look at it.
It's probably me falling.
So I don't know. I don't know what to expect here. We'll see.
Okay.
All right, we got
oh, wow.
Trail Fail Toenail Puzzle from Angeles Crest 100.
AC.
Oh my God, there they are down there.
They show them. Look at all those. So I think they had too tight of shoes. They look like those might have been trimmed. I don't know. I always try to trim mine, but those shoes on the downhill are so important.
Oh my God, that is absolutely disgusting.
Have
you lost
a
toenails?
finisher? Yeah, but mostly in modeling jobs that the shoes were too tight and stuff. I used to say that a couple times. One time I had trouble that I had a different system, but usually I don't blister or anything. But
it looks like they lost 7 out of 10 here.
Yeah, well, look at Marshall Ulrich had them all pulled out. Yeah,
surgically.
Yeah, surgically. He did what, double Badwater, maybe even quadruple. I don't even know. He used to pull his own cart behind him and stuff like that. There's some amazing people out there.
All right, so go ahead. If you guys have a trail fail to share, go ahead and submit it on the website, and we might feature it on the next show. So Scott, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for everything you're doing for the sport too. It's a great thing to see the sport carried on in this fashion, especially here in Arizona.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for our next episode, guys. Thanks for watching.